So, so yeah, so we might need to remain silent, right? Okay.
Tu divina presencia sideral yo reverencio, y me honra destellante la luz de tus faroles. Son partículas de astro en avalancha.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, but for example, this thing for tomorrow is gonna be the Proyecto Facebook.
Okay. Well, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining us this week in another Spanglish series. Now presented, I'm very, very excited about this one because now we're presented with the MIS Barrientos Mexican American Cultural Center. And what a awesome way to start, but with this amazing musician and educator, Roy Michel Cardenas. Roy, thank you so much for doing this and sharing some time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here, especially something that is, under this umbrella of Spanglish. I mean, that's really, a lot of people don't realize that, but that's who I am. Very half, raised on the border. Very, I used to drive my father crazy because, he is from Houston. He's American, went to Mexico, studied, has a master's in Spanish, and whenever we would speak Spanglish and wouldn't speak just Spanish, he would drive him nuts. But he loved it. Anyway, now all the effort he put forth in learning the language, and then people are going are like, yeah, vamos a ir a las movies a las 5. He'll be like, what? Anyway,
Honestly,
thank you for having me.
For me, oh my God, no, thank you so much. Yeah, and for me, there was an adjustment period porque quería corregir a todo mundo de que no se dice parqueadero or like, no, you're flexing language. But now I do it. Pasamos todo el tiempo aquí, por lo regular trabajo en inglés y mi vida social, no toda, pero muchas en español. Entonces, like, yeah, it comes where like you're thinking in both languages and you're like some feelings I feel like are way easier to express in one language or another, which is also very strange. Sí, pues por eso hicimos esta series, porque es algo que todos pasamos, todos compartimos, la gente que hablamos español con raíces latinas y que, like, even if you don't speak the full language, probably your abuelita or your tias or someone, like, you get what they're saying for sure. But yeah, I like this program a lot. It makes me, it allows me to be Spanglish guilty free. Ok, entonces para los que no te conocen, ¿nos puedes platicar un poquito de quién eres? ¿Cuál es tu background?
Yeah, I grew up in McAllen, Texas, like I was saying, right on the border in the valley. And every time I would say that, people are like, oh, you're from the valley, like California Valley? I'm like, no, not really. Very different place. But yeah, the valley, Rio Grande Valley, RGV, whatever you want to call it. So I just refer to it as the valley, and specifically McAllen. And my dad's American. His side is from originally from New Orleans, so kind of this, French lineage background. And my mom is from northern Mexico, specifically from Saltillo, Coahuila. And I have a lot of family in Monterrey and Matamoros, Reynosa. And so being that you know, my dad went to Mexico to study Spanish, met my mom, you know, and when they decided to move to the States, they settled on McAllen because my grandmother, mi abuelita estaba ahí in Matamoros, and we were there all the time. So that world that I was always in between. I went to school, you know, everything's in English in McAllen, but every weekend, lots of summers, I would, you know, spend in Monterey, or I'd go to Mexico City sometimes. Almost every other weekend, I was in Matamoros, you know, skating throughout Matamoros, having fun there. And it was just kind of the backdrop to everything that I was doing. All my friends, literally, they, you know, 99% of them had some kind of Latino background, whether it was Argentino, Colombiano, majority were Mexican, but a big mix. So, you know, it was always just kind of there. And actually, I took it for granted, I think, for a long time, and almost, I want to say, resented it in a way for a while, because I wanted to get out of that environment to something different. You know, kind of when you grow up and something is so familiar to you, and you know, it wasn't necessarily like, you know, the music landscape that dominated and still dominates, I assume, because I haven't been to the Valley in a while. It, you know, it was Tejano and norteño, música grupera, whatever, you know, like that kind of style. And for me, it's like, all right, mariachi music was great. My dad loved trio music, you know, Los Panchos. Like I grew up playing that and listening to that. But it wasn't like I wanted to go play that music. I was a, you know, punk rock kid. You know, I love punk music and new wave music. And by the way, there's a great, I have to plug it, I don't know if you've seen it, there's a great documentary called As I Walk Through the Valley.
No.
And it's about the South Texas music scene going back all the way to the 60s. And they talk about this a lot, where you feel like, you know, I'm not Mexican enough to be like totally Mexican, and I'm not American enough to be totally American. Like I'm really in this in between stage. And I noticed that when I left, finally, I left to go to college in New Orleans, and to Loyola University. And that's where I really discovered, you know, I'm missing a lot. I was taking for granted just people that understood, like, if a word didn't come to me and I said it in Spanish, it was fine. Or just, you know, what certain foods were like. It was just kind of a culture shock to me. Yeah. So long story short, I moved to New Orleans, kind of connected with my dad's side of the family. And that's where I met the guys from Mute Math. Because Paul, the lead singer, he's a native New Orleanian. And from there is kind of, New Orleans was in a way kind of my second home, where it was kind of like my musical home. That I feel like I grew in a different place there musically. And then from there, Mute Math, you know, it's a long story, but Mute Math, you know, kind of went on from there.
Ya, y a ver, leí en tu Wikipedia que empezaste con bandas a los 12 años. Is that true?
¿Empecé con qué?
A tocar con bandas a los 12 años.
No, a los 6 años.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, empecé porque mi papá es músico, así que él toca guitarra y canta. Entonces, yo empecé como like around 6, guitar and drums right at around the same time. I don't know why that's on that wiki. Wiki. I started very early, and thankfully, I think it was a great upbringing, very musical home, you know, with a musical father. My mom didn't play, but she me apoyaba mucho, ¿no? En cualquier cosa. Estaba ahí, like, yes, let's, you know, we'll find this and we'll do that, and just lovely, just such a nurturer. So yeah.
Oye, y entonces nunca tuviste un pensamiento de que voy a ser arquitecto, voy a ser like whatever, like you always knew kind of that you were going to be a musician?
I kind of always knew, and I fought it for a long time because so the other background, you know, my family supported me a lot in music, but at the same time